hard to be mad at a country where the majority of animals hop.
And
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, and they all have those pockets. Even Australian people, have pouches to keep their stuff in.
Yeah, I was going to say they even hop. The humans.
Yeah. Anytime you're walking around and you're like, I need someone to hold something, your husband can be like, yeah, here, put it in the pouch.
These goddamn hoppers.
I know. And then they just run away when you clap. It's not threatening.
What do you guys think about saying Russia's one of the best countries? I want to see the reaction.
Why don't you go move there, Nor? Go move to Russia, then come back and perform us.
Yeah, sure. If I make it out of the KGB, sure. Thanks.
Tell me how the food is.
Maybe most beautiful women. They got that going for them.
I will say that I guess, well, they have a close-knit community when it comes to the women in Russia, so it's like, different than other places.
How do we feel about Croatia?
Croatian.
You're Croatian?
Yes. Me too. No way.
I am also Croatian.
No way. Shut up. You're joking.
My last name is Drzajic.
My family's from Dubrovnik.
Oh, really? Mine too.
I don't believe you.
Me?
3 Croats in one room, the odds are not making sense right now.
Pardon, ti si budala.
What about like Luxembourg?
I'm changing my reason, Monica. I'm changing my reason.
I wasn't celebrating. There's something in Croatia. That never happens.
We're taking over. Yay!
Now we just need
Monica's changing her reason too.
Wait, no.
We just need Weird Al Yankovic in here.
Is he Croatian?
Yeah. He is Croatian.
Let's have the love of God, please.
Is nothing more than just this metaphor, functionally speaking, right? And if rape is defined, technically speaking, if rape is defined as the forcible sort of like sex from one individual to another, right? Then if that's the
room, right? There's a cup sitting there waiting for him. He doesn't drink it. Because
isn't that what he said? I won't drink again until I'm with you guys in the kingdom. Is that what you're talking about?
So there's the four cups referencing you.
Yeah.
You want me to give the information on the
You
top?
didn't have.
No. I mean, you can, but I know what you're saying. I was just saying.
Yes. So they usually like. I think this is mentioned a lot. And this is mentioned in Luke here. Let me post it on the top so you guys know what I'm talking about.
I think that also like mirrors the Galilean marriage thing. That's what he says.
It resembles a symposium. The symposium.
That's what he says. He don't know the hour because in the culture, only the father is the one that sends the son to go marry the bride. I don't know if you've heard about that as well. That's very interesting.
So this is a Passover ritual, and this is in Exodus 6:4, right? And he says, the The first cup is I will bring you out, I will deliver you, I will redeem you. And the last cup is I will take you as my people. So, I just wanted to let you know because I think a lot of this stuff kind of slips by. Even though if you see them using the apologetics, sometimes Omar, you're smart enough to ask them like, what is this? What does the cup mean? And I think this cup, because they're using a reference, right, to say that he's praying, but yet the same reference is he's saying that he knows that he's gonna die. He knows there has to be a sacrifice. So I just find it funny because I hear these like apologetics going on all the time, and they love bringing this verse up, but the verse is literally talking about him being
Bringing it up
crucified
and
and
bringing
dying.
it up and saying what? Like,
This is
Say that
the
he
verse
prayed.
where he's bowing and he's praying.
yeah,
He's
like
praying to the
how is
Father.
he
Yeah,
praying
say,
to
oh,
God?
he prayed like a Muslim. Look, he bowed
He
down.
cannot be God and pray
Yes.
to God.
Yeah.
This is about the crucifixion on his death.
I know that there's explanations for that. How like he's human nature and
You know what I'm saying, right? Hey, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, I took a screenshot
We
of
should
that
at least-
information. It's so nice. Thank you for that.
I don't.
We
like,
should at least explain it. Explain to them what they. Well, Omar should explain to what his friends doing because he doesn't.
I'm not gonna explain anything to anybody. They hate me now.
Why they hate you? Why?
We have like theological differences. I think that God is a substance, and He's temporal and spatial, and He has direct causal relationship to existence, and there is like a boundary between Him and the existence, and He exists in a certain direction and stuff like that, and they think that's like blasphemy. So.
Well, the Trinitarians are going to say that Jesus did this for his ministry because once he has a glorified body, he doesn't suffer anything.
No, I'm talking about God, like the Father.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. And that state when he's man before he resurrected, he's in that state. He's in that
Right. But
temporal state. Yeah.
for Muslims, there is only like single. Let's call him the Father for convenience sake. I think even if I was a Christian, I would still believe that the Father is temporal and like spatial and like, because I don't believe in the existence of non-concrete, non-temporal and non-spatial concrete objects. That to me, that would be like saying that the God is like the number 3, or like that's nothing. Like it's just something in your head. So that's the current difference between me and them right now. Funny thing is that what I'm saying is the entailment of what they're saying. But my sect is like highly substantialist. I'm not gonna say physicalist, but I'm gonna say substantialists in the modern sense. But they don't like to commit. They tell you like, oh, these words weren't in the Quran and the Sunnah. Yeah, I understand. I get it. The words themselves didn't, but the meaning is clear. Like, there's no dispute that this is what Ibn Taymiyyah believed. If you translate it to modern philosophical language, that's what he believed. I don't know why we're embarrassed of it. Like, I don't get it. Anyway, I've always been a contrarian, so I'm used to it. It's fine.
I think it's better to be that way. So am I. A little bit of a contrarian.
Yeah, I've noticed you're a contrarian as well.
Oh yeah, big time. They hate me for it. I'm too much sometimes.
Yeah, I remember when I opened the room to declare my return to Islam, and I said like, look, I'm not signing any contracts with anybody. I don't want any assumptions. Like, you people gotta calm down. The Salafis were very happy, although I didn't say that I was a Salafi for different reasons, but I was basically mainly agreeing with them. They were happy because a lot of high-profile atheists who came back during the periods were Ash'aris. Ash'aris are sort of like new Platonian, speculative philosophers type thing. So they were happy that a high-profile atheist came back to their sect. I'm like, people, like, be careful. I'm not, like, you might not agree with what I'll say later. Anyway, how are you been doing?
Good. I think that we take more of like a literal interpretation of the Salafis.
I wouldn't say the Salafis are literalists. They're more, I would say they take the apparent meaning of the word. So, for instance, if you're saying, like, I saw a lion on the podium, they wouldn't say that there was a lion, the animal, on the podium. They would say there was, like, a speaker who was, like, on fire, like a lion. But they do reject, like, being too much of, like, doing.
Three participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as a participant. For a menu of available commands, press *#. The number is 839-2026. And who do I have on this line for complaining?
This is John Kitover.
Hi, Mr. Kitover. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And who do I have on this line for the agency? Gotcha. Thank you so much. All right, well, we are here for an initial conference. Let me start by just explaining the initial conference is not a hearing, it's not evidentiary, we're not going to be deciding anything on the merits of the case today. It's simply my opportunity to bring the parties together so that I can explain my process and the process in hearings moving forward. We don't set the hearing date today or a pre-hearing date today. We do those things down the road after we fulfill some other steps first. And if there are claims that survive those other steps, then we will have another conference like the one we're having today, where we will set a date for a hearing and a pre-hearing conference. And I will set deadlines for the things you need to provide to me before those conferences. But for today, we're going to talk about best modes of contact with me, some email protocol. We'll discuss some preliminary questions that I have that I want to go through with each party. We'll talk about a process called discovery, if we need to get to that point. That is a process by which the parties can fill any evidentiary or information gaps that might exist in the report of investigation as it exists today. It's a process that occurs between the parties and that don't involve me. But I'll talk more about that specifically and define some terms that are used in discovery and if we decide that that process will be necessary. We can also talk about any preliminary motions that the parties think need to be filed in this case before we would get to a hearing or a pre-hearing conference stage. I will want to talk to the parties about settlement before we get off the phone to see where you all are, if you've begun negotiation, if you're interested in negotiating, which is where you are in that. I want to remind the parties that hearings are closed, confidential proceedings. They're not open to the public. And even though it's a dispute that's brought you before me today, we need to maintain civility and respect for one another in all matters moving forward. Being prompt and on time, we all were reasonably within that 10 o'clock start time, so that's good. If we set any deadlines today, I want you to be mindful of what's on your calendar already. I don't want to set deadlines that conflict with things you know already are on your calendar that would prevent you from making that deadline. However, after we set the deadline, if something intervenes in a way that rises to the level of good cause for extending a deadline, you can make a request to me. Before you make that request to extend a deadline, please reach out to the other party, find out what their position is. Do they want to join you in the request? Do they object to the request? Do they agree with the request but they don't want to join you? That sort of information needs to be in your request, as well as a clear indication of what deadline you're asking me to extend and in what way you want it extended. If you're asking me to postpone a conference, which is this one that we're having today, you need to also additionally, when you confer with the other party, make sure you're talking about what date would work for you alternatively. If I agree that you have good cause for what you're asking me to do, and good cause, let me just explain, for either an extension or a postponement would require you to show something more than just kind of general routine busyness. If something unexpected, maybe an emergency of some nature, an illness, an injury, medical procedure, unexpected work assignment that's taking you out of state or out of the country, or or something of that nature, it's not like I said, just a routine thing. So you would need to make sure you state that reason in your request so that I can determine whether good cause exists for what you're asking me to do. If you need to communicate with me, the best way to do that is by email. I can't have one-sided communications with parties. So calling me, unless you're both on the call, would not be something that I could engage in. Also, the other problem with calling me is often I'm in conferences like this one, or I'm in a hearing, and I can't answer the phone. So it's going to go to voicemail. You're going to leave me a message that's going to get transcribed to email, and then I'm going to be responding to the email anyway. So I just find it more efficient if parties will reach out to me via email first. When you do email me, please make sure that you're including the case name, meaning the party name, as well as the EEOC number. I need both of those things to be able to be clear on emailing me and why they're emailing me. I can't have, again, one-sided communication, so it is very important that you both are included in any emails to me. Also, make sure, since we are using email as that primary mode of communication, that you're checking your junk folders, your spam folders. In the subject line with the case names and the case number, if you could include a word or two about why it is you're reaching out to me, that would be helpful as well. When you initial case file in the, for a complainant that would be through the portal, for the agency through FedSep. Make sure that you're then attaching that something to an email and send it to me. 2 reasons. One, if there's a deadline looming and you're up against that deadline, I will accept the email on the date and time that you sent it, as long as you sent it before the deadline passed, regardless of what technology errors you might encounter or glitches, whether it's on technology on your side or on the portal side. You will have a little bit of a safeguard because your email, if it's received timely, will satisfy your timeliness requirement. It helps me because the system doesn't provide me with any sort of notice when things are uploaded into the folder. So that email will act as my alert and notice that there's activity in the case. I do want to confirm that we're using the best email contact. Mr. Kitover, is your best email johnkitover2025@gmail.com?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. And for Mr. Dumbrow, of course, we have your irs.treads.gov. Do you want Ms. Silas included on communications with you?
We have a centralized mailbox that we include. I'm not sure if you have it from prior cases, but it's GLSCHI.
I'm sure I do have it from other, but I want to make sure I put it in irscouncil.pros.gov.
Yeah, same after the app. Thank you.
Okay, we'll be sure to include that. But do you want Ms. Silas included as well, or no?
If you include me and the docket mailbox, that's sufficient.
That's enough. Okay. I'll make sure I put that in my order then, and it'll be there for both parties. So Mr. Kitover, make sure when you email Mr. Dumbrow that you include that GLS email address as well. It'll be in my order, so you'll see it there. And of course, when I email you both my order, you'll have it there as well. All right. Mr. Dumbrow, any concerns with service by email as I've described?
No, Judge, no concern.
Okay. Mr. Kitover, do you have any concerns with receiving and sending things by email in this case?
No, Judge.
Okay. I want to go ahead and do a little bit of a preliminary exercise. When I do this exercise, I do it one party at a time. That's mostly to make sure I'm not misunderstanding who's talking, as well as to make sure we're not talking over one another. So don't read anything into who I start with. If I don't start with you, please be patient. I will circle back to you and ask you primarily the same question. So if you hear something that you think differently about, or you disagree with, or
Hello?
you just maybe you agree but you have additional
Hello?
information you want to provide, just wait until I
Hello?
switch gears or until I direct you or direct
Hello?
my questions to you specifically.
Hello.
I am going to start with the agency. I want to first confirm my understanding of the record with regard to what was dismissed after Mr. Kitover went to an EO counselor. When I look at the section for claims to be investigated, which starts at PDF page 49, I do see that there are several things that were not accepted as timely claims. There were, well, let's do it this way first. There were some things that, while they were accepted, meaning B, C, and D, they involved discrete incidences that occurred prior to, I'm just reading out directly verbatim from the ROI, footnote 2 on PDF page 49. Occurred prior to February 7th, so untimely raised beyond the 45-day time frame. But it appears that these untimely discrete events are still considered as part of the harassment claim. I also saw that there were some other claims, however, primarily apparently F, G, H, and I, that were dismissed, and we're not going to go through every single aspect of why they were dismissed. My main question is that the universe of things that the agency didn't accept?
Yes,
That's
Judge.
Mr. Dombrow.
Yes, Judge. I have 5 accepted claims for a harassment claim, not a disparate treatment claim. Several that are discrete acts. I read the footnote as well, and I have those 5 as the accepted claims, and then I have several that were dismissed based on all the bases that are in the acceptance letter.
Okay. So nowhere else in the record do we have any, well, it might be reference, but there's no other aspect of what he raised that were dismissed. Is that right?
As far as I know, it's what's in the letter.
Okay. And what's your position, Mr. Dombrow, on the completeness of this record? It's over 700 pages. Do you believe that it's complete and no discovery is necessary? Do you believe it's complete but some limited discovery might be helpful? Or do you think there are significant gaps that are going to require some discovery to fill?
I would say number 2, that
Okay.
limited discovery on items like any documents related to damages, more than what's in the investigative file on pages 116 and 17 for the comp damages affidavit, and more documents regarding the nature of the disability, since there's a disability claim, more than what's on pages 78 and 79 of the affidavit. I would like to request permission then to get documents regarding disability. I want to know if there were any grievance filings, since in certain places in the investigative file and the administrative file, there's a reference to possible grievance filings, but I wasn't completely sure about that. I also wanted to ask about any audio recordings or statements. Those are Mr. Kitover mentioned those to me in a settlement demand, and I believe they might be in the investigative file, but I'm not sure. I wanted to know a little bit more about the prior EEO activity than what's on pages 79 and 80, and I think that's probably the main items. Damages,
Okay.
description of the claims, and grievance filing, things like that. But I think it's the limited option that you mentioned.
Okay. You raised the issue of grievances, so we don't need to belabor that. You've stated your position. You're not sure if there were, but because there are some references in the ROI union activity, that's something that we probably need to figure out. And in a moment, I'm going to ask Mr. Kitover, and we'll see what he says. And if we're still uncertain, then we can talk about a plan moving forward. I didn't see any reason or anything raised in his accepted claims that made me think we needed to talk about Merit Protection Board issues. Is that accurate, Mr. Dombrow?
Yes, that is accurate.
Okay. Mr. Kitover, I want to start in reverse order with you. Are you familiar with the Merit System Protection Board?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. You don't have an appeal pending before them on any claims involved in this case, do you?
No, Judge.
Okay. Let me ask you, are you aware of any grievances filed or pending concerning the accepted claims in this case?
No, Judge.
Okay. And let me make sure I'm understanding. Do you believe there were some, but you just don't know the status of them, or are you saying there weren't any filed?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question one more time, Judge?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you know what the scope of your no is with regard to grievances. Is your position that you don't know if any were filed and or are pending, or is your position you know for a fact there are none?
As far as I know, there's none.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the record then in this report of investigation. Do you believe the three, and these aren't hard, fast scenarios, there may be a fourth or a fifth scenario, but do you believe there are significant gaps in this record that need to be filled by the parties? Do you believe that the record's fairly complete, but there are a few things that you think would make it better? Or do you believe the record's complete and you don't think anything is needed to prove your claims?
No, I think there's limited amounts of additional information that need to be included, particularly a sexual harassment grievance, which ultimately led to the retaliation. And that original and first sexual harassment grievance or complaint is not included in the record.
Okay. And when was that sexual harassment complaint or grievance, as you call it?
I believe it was in
Just roughly, what year?
2020.
Okay. All right. That's yeah. I mean, that's an interesting concept. It's possible that it's not in the record because it doesn't have any relevancy to the claims that were accepted. But that in discovery, in these administrative processes, I'm not bound by the federal rules of discovery. So, if you all were in federal court or state court, you might find discovery handled a little differently, and there might be different scope of discovery. In this case, I will likely, based on what you both have said, permit some reasonable discovery. So to the extent you think that has some relevancy, and I don't know what Mr. Dombro's position would be if you made a request for something that far back, but if you can make a good argument for why it's relevant to the claims that were accepted, discovery is a little more lenient than what you might be able to use in a hearing. So, in other words, while you sometimes can ask for things that arguably should be produced, you may find yourself with a hurdle down the road in terms of being able to use it at a hearing. So just keep that in mind. Is there anything else, Mr. Kitover?
No, that's it, Judge.
Okay. And with regards to the things that were not accepted by the agency when they issued their notice of acceptance in this case of your claims, are you in agreement with what Mr. Brown and I discussed about the universe of those dismissed items?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Are you intending to seek reinstatement for anything that was dismissed by the agency?
Yes, Judge. It has to do with what I just previously mentioned about the sexual harassment grievance in 2020.
Right. Do you have any, and we're not going to argue it, like I said, I'm not going to rule on that in this conference, but I need to determine whether I want to give you a period of time to make your argument in writing. So sometimes complainants, when they come to these conferences, they obviously don't like no one likes that their claim was dismissed, but they don't have any legal reason that they know of to challenge what the agency did. In that case, a request to reinstate would not likely be successful. If you have, though, a legal reason why you think the agency agency got it wrong, then I would be happy to give you an opportunity. Generally, I'll give up to 10 days for a complainant to put their argument in writing, and then the agency would have 10 days to respond, and then I would make a ruling just based on the parties' positions. So what I'm asking you is, do you have any legal basis to challenge the agency's dismissals?
Yes, I believe I do, Judge.
And what's your legal basis, just generally?
Constitutional and Civil Rights Act.
Can you be more specific?
I'd be happy to put it in the statement, but I don't actually have my notes prepared or pulled up from previous correspondence.
Okay. I'll give you the 10 days, and then Mr. Downbrow, you have 10 days to respond to him, okay?
Yes, Judge.
Does that make sense, Mr. Kitover?
Yes, Judge.
All right. I limit that to 5 pages. It's got to be double-spaced, at least 12-point font, and that's the same for any response. So you'll see that in my order. Let's go back to discovery just for a minute. Mr. Kitover, are you claiming as relief in this case? So if you're successful in meeting your burden's by preponderance of the evidence, meaning you have to tilt the scales just past 50%, in establishing that the wrong that you allege actually occurred and was unlawful. And if you're successful in doing that, then you then have the burden of proof in establishing that any damages you claim were caused by the agency's unlawful actions. So you have kind of 2 steps you have to get past by preponderance of the burden, or preponderance of the evidence. My question to you is, if you're successful on that first hurdle, right, of establishing liability, meaning unlawful conduct as alleged, are you claiming relief for any sort of physical or emotional, mental injury? And let me try to distinguish what I'm talking about. So under the EEOC Management Directive, there is language that requires the agency to seek typically written approval before they ask for limited medical records. And the medical records can be for establishing when we have disability cases, if there's not enough evidence in the record to conclusively establish that the disability that's claimed, then the agency can seek limited discovery into that. Not your entire medical records, not for every disability that you may or may not have had, years prior or since. It's at the time that you made these allegations concern, were you disabled or was there a disability, since you're claiming as a basis disability. But there's a second area that agencies can request some limited medical records, and that's if a complainant is seeking relief for an actual injury or harm, so either physical, mental, emotional, that typically is involving ongoing injury, a diagnosis by a doctor, a prognosis, treatment plans. Those sorts of things usually signal that someone is seeking relief for the type of injury that would open the door for an agency to properly seek those sorts of records. If a complainant is just claiming a general emotional distress, usually that's indicated by I think I'm entitled to relief for the anger that the discrimination caused me, the humiliation, the embarrassment, the sadness, my stomach hurt and I was unable to sleep, but it didn't rise to the level of an actual ongoing harm that was diagnosed.
Oh no,
treated,
I am
etc.
fully on board
So
now.
that latter category is just negative emotions. Usually does not open the door for an agency to seek limited medical records. So with that explanation in mind, are you able to say one way or the other where your claim for relief might fall? Does it fall towards the side of actual injury, or does it fall towards the side of negative emotion?
Hi, Judge. It involves actual injury and not emotions.
Okay. Then, Mr. Dunbrow, I am going to grant your request to seek limited medical records as to the claim disability and as to the damages. Again, that's not an open carte blanche ability to seek an entire individual's medical history and records. It's got to be pretty specifically tailored to the claimed injury and the claimed disability. Of course, the complainant, if they think a discovery request is too broad or beyond the bounds of what's been permitted, they can always file a motion for protective order with the caveat, and this is a caveat to both parties. If any party files a motion for protective order, you should probably be clear that it's not something you want to use in support of either your proof, if you're the complainant, or your defense, if you're the agency. Because if you convince me that a protective order is appropriate, that means it doesn't come in. It doesn't come in at hearing. It's protected from discovery. Discovery, and we'll go more in depth in a moment, maybe in this conference, maybe not, but we'll see. But if we do get to the part where we set some discovery limits and deadlines, just remember, discovery is a process that happens between the parties. You don't send me your requests, you don't send me your responses. The only time you would involve me is if there was a dispute that you tried in good faith to resolve yourselves and couldn't. So just keep that in mind. All right. Let's talk about the issue and make sure we're all on the same page with the issue that's been accepted. And again, if we look in the ROI, we've got the acceptance partial dismissal section that starts on 49 that captures what the agency accepted. It's also then restated in the investigative summary, which begins on PDF 57. The actual statement of the issue is further down. Give me just a second. It is at PDF 62. And as I understand the statement of claims and issues to be investigated, it's whether the agency subjected complainant to harassment based on sex, male, disability, and in retaliation for prior protected activity when A, in March 2024, complainant supervisor S1 called complainant a, in quotes, man whore in front of a coworker, and since then, S1 regularly communicates with complainant in an insulting, degrading, and passive-aggressive manner. B, in April 2024, management informed complainant he would no longer be working in the Duluth project and the motor pool vehicle program. C, in April 2024, S2 informed complainant he was going to investigate complainant's time and attendance. D, on dates from May 1st, 2024 to the present, complainant has been charged absent without leave, in parentheses, AWOL. And E, in March 2025, S2 stated if he sees complainant at work, he's going to punch him in the throat, in quotes. Mr. Kitover, is that the issue that you understand is to be heard and resolved through the Terrence process?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. And Mr. Dunbrow, are you in agreement?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Kitover, do you have any other EEO matters that are pending either at the investigative level with the agency or with another administrative judge?
No, Judge.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you both. I'm going to start with the agency first. You know, when a complainant indicated that they want me to reconsider some dismissed claims. Sometimes it makes sense to rock on discovery just long enough to resolve that. Because sometimes if we reinstate claims, it can affect how much or how little discovery or, what the discovery period is. But sometimes the claims are such that even if we reinstate them, it doesn't impact discovery that much in terms of the limits and the duration. Do you have an opinion, Mr. Dumbro, on which of those two scenarios you think this case falls into? If Mr. Kitover is successful in convincing me that his dismissed claim or parts, if he's even partially successful, do you believe that would warrant more discovery or different deadlines and limits on discovery?
Judge, I would agree with you that it would be better to hold off on discovery until we know if there are any additional claims. Like, for example, I think G is what we were talking, is what Mr. Kitover was talking about with his other complaint or grievance. So while there are questions that we could ask each other or that the agency could ask that aren't part of the dismissed claims, I think that there could be some additional ones that come from having any dismissed claims potentially reinstated, especially G.
Okay. Mr. Kitover, do you agree with Mr. Dumbrow, or do you feel otherwise?
No, I agree. I think limited discovery is fine, Judge.
Right, but the question is, do you agree that we should hold off on setting deadlines and limits until we've determined what may or may not be added back into the case?
I'm really either way because they've already determined, I guess, what has been accepted by the counselor. So if this is not admitted, I mean, I'm still prepared to proceed, but I think based on the importance of it in terms of being the starting point of my claims, that we can hold off. I mean, it's fine by me.
Right. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and let the request for reinstatement play out. Again, that doesn't add that much more time to it. I give you each the 10-day period. So Mr. Kitover, again, what you'll see in my order is you'll have 10 days from the date of my order. And I believe I can get my order out today. So you'll have 10 days to make your arguments on why what you think should be reinstated. And then Mr. Dumbrow will get 10 additional days to respond. It usually doesn't take me that long, depending on what's going on in my calendar, to take a look at those two positions and get you a ruling. Let's go ahead and hold off, but let's set a date certain when we'll all come back for another conference. It'll be a little shorter because we won't have as much to cover, but we'll basically know what our scope of the issue is, right? It'll either be the same as we addressed today if you're unsuccessful, but if you're successful, there will be things added back in, and then we can make informed decisions on how much discovery is appropriate and what the length of time discovery should be, and then we can also set a date for any other motions that the parties think are appropriate. In doing that, so I want to build in at least the 20 days. It's the 28th. Let's see. Let's look at the week of June 22nd. Do the parties have availability? I've got some pretty good availability on the 23rd, the 24th, or the 25th, either before 11 or after 3. I'm going to start with Kitover, is there a particular day that week and time that works for you?
Either of those days work, and after 3 p.m. would be great.
Would be better. Okay. Mr. Dunbar, what about you?
Judge, the best day of those three is June 25th. I'm sorry, what was the time? I didn't hear the time.
It would have to be after 3 for me, so let's just say 3:30.
After
And that's
3
Eastern time. Yep.
So 2:30 Central.
Well, whatever time it is.
Dr. Adams, by the way, this is the launch of our big back line.
But it's 10:39 where I am
Man
right now.
Whore. That'll be
So
our
whatever
first
that
product
means
in our
for
catalog.
your time
Be a
zone.
whole
But I
line of
always
products
give time
dedicated to
in
man
terms of
whores. Man
Eastern.
whores.
So at 3:30
Don't you scold me.
Eastern time.
This is the launch of our big back line. Drewski's endorsing it.
And we will know the scope
Drewski's
of
an investor, by the way.
accepted claims, and we'll be able to move on with scheduling, discovery, and any other motions. Does that make sense, Mr. Kitover?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Does that make sense, Mr. Dunbrow?
Yes, Judge Level.
Okay. Just taking a note here to make sure I get the date down right. All right. So the only thing left that I want to touch base with you all on, and then is discovery. Mr. Kitover, have you sent a demand to Mr. Dunbrow, to the agency?
Yes,
Since
Judge.
the case came to hearing?
Yes, Judge. We've had 2 back and forths.
Okay. And was the last back and forth to you, or were you sending them something?
It was to me, of no settlement.
Okay. Mr. Dunbrow, were there some sticking points, or what's the agency's position?
Judge, the demand was not as something that the agency was willing to provide. The first demand was for $230,000, and the second demand was for $160,000.
Okay. Does the agency have any authority?
I was not given any authority by the agency.
Does the agency take some sort? I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of where you are preliminarily. So are you saying that the agency has no interest in settlement whatsoever, or are you saying the agency just needs to see what you need, that additional information that you discussed in discovery? What's your position on that?
I suppose if anything could change, and I could obviously have multiple discussions with management. As of right now, management did not have any interest in pursuing settlement on those terms and didn't authorize me to submit a counteroffer.
Okay. Just keep in mind, negotiation back and forth, right? So I'm always a little curious when I hear a party, and it happens on both sides at various stages, where somebody says, I didn't like their offer, so no, and then they just walk away. That the negotiation stops, obviously. I mean, that's just, there's no way parties can find the middle ground that they need to arrive at to be able to resolve a case informally if one party just stops because they don't like what they heard. If both parties are interested in resolving this short of going through the hearings process, which as you can see even from today, there are multiple stages and steps. It's not a fast process. It takes time and energy and emotion. Then the best way to do that is to continue talking. You get something you don't like, okay, then put on paper what you could do. Again, the other side may not like that, but then it's on them to come up with something less than what they originally sent you, or different than what they sent you. It doesn't always have to be just about money. Sometimes cases will resolve where the money's not what either party was hoping for, but maybe there was some non-monetary aspect that had value to a party that the other party could do. So it takes creativity, it takes patience. If you all are interested in resolving this together, you have to be reasonable, you have to continue talking. It happens between the parties. You don't involve me, similarly to discovery. If you find that you're involved in negotiation, but you feel like you're just not getting anywhere or you're stuck on something, and both parties believe a conference would be helpful, you can request a settlement conference. All I need from parties to be able to refer this case to one of my colleagues who would act as a settlement conference judge is a statement that you both think a conference would be helpful. I can't set a conference where one party doesn't want one, or where one party might want one, but they just don't think it's going to be helpful. That's not going to be a good use of anyone's time. So, all you have to do is represent that you think it'll be helpful. So I just wanted to put that out there for both of you. Mr. Kitover, do you have any questions on anything we've discussed today, or do you have anything else you want to raise today?
No, Judge, I think it's been very thorough. Thank you very much, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dunbar, do you have any questions on anything we've said today or anything else you want to raise?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
Okay. Well, I appreciate both of your participation today. We can adjourn, and I will get you your order before the end of the day. If you have questions on it, please make sure that you're addressing those questions to me, include the other side, but do so sooner as opposed to later. Don't wait until you're up against the deadline. You may run into a situation where I'm not available, and then you just, again, you have to do the best you can without the benefit of my clarification. So, review it when you get it, or as soon as practical, and then make sure you're asking your questions or reaching out with any inquiry you might have on anything in the order sooner as opposed to later. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Big back, big back, big back, big back, big back. We're bringing big back, baby.
I think you're in love with me. I think I love you too. I think you're in love with me.
Big back, big back, big back, big back, big back, big back, big back. Yeah. Big back. We're bringing it back, baby.
Big bag,
Big back, big back, big back,
it's
big.
loaded up with snacks and different foods. Squeeze into this tiny shirt, my big bag has no room. Big bag, 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 big bag. Mike just ate a Big Mac. Mike just ordered DoorDash. Big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag. Yeah. Now can we run that back?
Big back, baby. It's a big back.
Big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag. Yeah, my bag is loaded up with snacks and different foods. Squeeze into this tiny shirt, my big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag. Yeah, my bag is loaded up with snacks and different foods. Squeeze into this tiny shirt, my big bag has no room. Big bag, 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 big bag. Mike just ate a Big Mac. Mike just ordered DoorDash. Big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag. Yeah. Now can we run that back? Big bag, big bag, big bag, big bag. Yeah, my bag is loaded up with snacks and different foods. Squeeze into this tiny shirt, my
Big back, baby. All right, I want to thank everybody for joining me. I hope you guys are having a blessed day. Bless up. Stay strong. Move fast. Big back. Coming back. The big back. Big back.
Important to your case and totally changes everything about the woman. Like I don't know. Oh, by the way, I just went to the Congo and got scratched by something, right? And then back in England, and they don't know what's wrong with you, and you tell the doctor that, and you tell the AI that, and the AI just decides to ignore it. Just the attention mechanism just says, oh fuck it, who cares? He just went on holiday. I won't focus on that, and the whole diagnosis is fine. And or the other way around. You didn't tell it you went to the Congo, and it imagined you did. And then it starts diagnosing based on the idea you went to the Congo. You never told it that. And then you create one I ever seen. Oh, you said you went to the Congo. No, I didn't. Oh, yeah, I'm terribly sorry. No, you didn't.
I feel like a pregnant girl.
They're the two things. They're the two kind of catch.
Oh, hey,
totally fixable.
I got a show. Who's up? Knock. Who's there?
Yeah,
Interrupt the cat.
better, but
Interrupt the
they might not do the due diligence and researching it, or maybe they can't read the cursive right, they missed the.
I just want to say, at the gym today, abs coming in.
Exactly.
See that definition line? My class!
How to determine it.
Oh, good, guys.
Things perfectly, and be slightly more creative, slightly non-deterministic, like LLM style thinking. You can have those working together. For example, it has really dull
Every devil got to flee. You don't have no reason. I'm bold as a lion. I don't fear no evil.
Don't think of a blue elephant. Everyone can think of a fucking blue elephant, right? There's no way to tell it not to use M dashes without mentioning M dashes, which makes it much more likely to use M dashes.
Exactly.
It's completely impossible, but there is a solution, and that's called a deterministic hook. So if you're using a more sophisticated tool like Claude Code or Codex or something, you can just put something called a hook in. It'll write it for you. You just say, write me a pretext.
Take a look at this. You've probably never seen someone this incredible. Just because he had an argument with his wife, he packed his bags in a fit of anger and went deep into the mountains to live alone. What no one expected was that he chose to build a house in an abandoned fort. And throughout the entire process, he didn't use any modern machinery at all. The whole structure was built using high-quality wood and rattan, from measuring and cutting to the final construction. Every single step was done completely by hand. It has to be said, this man's building skills are truly one of a kind. As it turns out, he had grown tired of the 9-to-5 lifestyle. He wanted to use the savings he had built up over the years to return to the countryside and start a new life. However, his wife strongly opposed the idea. In her eyes, he had a stable job and a good city with a promising future. She hoped he would stay focused on his career, work toward promotions, and earn a higher income. Because of this, the couple had a heated argument. In a moment of anger, he packed his things and headed deep into the mountain. He wanted to find a life that truly belonged to him. At first, his wife thought it was just a temporary impulse. She believed he would come back home in a few days, defeated and depressed. She even prepared herself to persuade him to compromise when he returned. surprise, months passed with no news at all. Worried, she decided to go into the mountains to hunt. But when she finally arrived, what she saw completely stunned her. The man had everything in the wooden cabin, perfectly organized. He chopped his own firewood, cooked his own meals, and even brewed his own wine. Eating heartily, drinking freely, living a life that was both free and fulfilling. There was no sign of hardship. This left his wife both frustrated and at all. Now, let's take a look at how he built this out, step by step. The entire process is truly amazing. At this point, the exquisite wooden house is complete. Although the video lasts only a few minutes, in reality, this man spent a total of 7,746 hours to finish it. So please show your support for true craftsmen. Your support is the motivation behind our creation. Thank you so much for watching. If the full score is 100 points, how many points would you give this house?
What you
Bro,
do and
no
I
way.
consider that that safe environment.
Why doesn't
And I
anyone
get
want
it too. I
sometime?
always
No
got
way.
to use it.
You
Using
found
my daughter. So I get it.
Well,
Because
she
when
might have thought it was funny. You never know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she did. Well, when my daughter wouldn't do her homework or she got in trouble at school, I would beat her severely, but not with physical violence. I would take her to this 30-degree hill and make her do up downs because I understand that she's young and she's got these endorphins and been sitting around, and she behaved much differently and much more calm and rational when I would wear her body out and her mind would relax. And people would see me outside, running with my daughter, and she's crying and whimpering and being overly dramatic. And I'm saying, get up that hill. If you want your phone back, if you want your privileges back, you're going to have to go up and down this hill another 5 times. But, she ended up becoming very successful and well disciplined. But I get it. Yeah, people think
That's
that.
interesting though. That's completely. I've never made my kids do anything apart from not run in front of cars and things. But it's similar result. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, she didn't enjoy that. Although she laughed at it, and so did her brother like a drain. That she didn't enjoy that photo, so that end video. So she's like, make one of yourself. So I did make one of myself. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just delete it then. I mean, the point was testing. The process was testing the AI guardrails because can you get it to do things that it thinks it's not allowed to do, like make a demeaning what it calls a demeaning video.
Well, so I didn't make my daughter do it. I made her make the decision. So, when you misbehave, you lose your phone privileges for a week. But how can you get your phone privileges back? Let's go run the hill of death. So she decides, I say, well, you can have your phone back, but in order to get your phone back, you have to decide to run with me. And so she would actually make the decision. She didn't have to do it, but she would always choose to do it,
That's fascinating. I'd like to talk about the empty space as a concept in terms of enlightenment, if I may.
Okay.
So, in terms of the empty space, if you are to ponder and to think about space, the vacuum, the distance between object A and object B, it actually creates object A and object B because without the space, you can't have the object. So space and object are one. They're connected. Opposite ends maybe of the same stick, but they're polar. And so space is a little bit like the ocean, meaning it's a reservoir. The analogy would be your emotions or your concepts and your thoughts. So, my big complaint about Elon Musk is that he keeps pushing propaganda to get Americans to invest their tax dollars into lunar colonies. And to me, if you understand space, you would understand that we already technically are on the moon because it's one system. And to waste our money on lunar colonies when we don't even have housing for tens of millions of Americans, it's ludicrous. It's anti-American. It's anti-patriotic, and it's really just a grift to keep federal dollars flowing to Elon Musk, SpaceX, etc. And Elon Musk actually he's like a flat earther, meaning that he's grifting, and you should call him out on it because it's your future, and America is its own country. I know we're in a global community of countries, but we have a shared legacy and a shared destiny, and it's not on the fucking moon. So, call it out for what it is: a scam, a grift, a fraud. That's what space can be. Doesn't have to be that. I know space is so important. We have all these satellites in geosynchronous orbit that make this communication possible, probably right now. But putting data centers in your backyard so Mark Zuckerberg can make another 10 billion. Meanwhile, the water in your house goes out and there's no compensation from Mark Zuckerberg as he's on his $300 million super yacht and his $60 million follow-on carrier yacht. So is that it? Is that good enough? I hope you guys liked it. You could call it empty space if you want.
That was awesome. Like, it's actually interesting because, like, when I listen to you as somebody who's, like, studied and well-versed and in all of this, I really appreciate how you, like, stuck with Shunyata there and then gravitated towards Elon Musk and his grift. You do provide a great deal of service for people, even if they're unable to realize it within themselves. And you do a great job with a sense of humor. I would say just don't harass people and you'll get a better response because like somebody like you could really make traction on social media if you actually did it the right way. However you're doing it right now, whatever you choose to do, just
Hello?
passion.
Hello?
I support you. You're incredibly intelligent. And if anybody was listening at the beginning, if you didn't comprehend or realize, sometimes it takes lifetimes to comprehend that.
Yes, sometimes it can take lifetimes to comprehend that Elon Musk is a flat earther.
No, Shunyata. It's actually like a really to comprehend intellectually, and even an intellectual conception of Shunyata is not a direct realization of the experience.
I'm just repeating what he said. Quote.
Yeah, but I was bringing attention to
I heard
the value of what he said before you want to pay attention to the shit to just bring shit into the room.
It's not.
Hold on just a second. Please allow me to speak for 2 minutes uninterrupted. I've been listening for 20 minutes. I haven't said a single fucking word. Yes, you're right. I'm simply paying attention to what he said. If you want to bang on me for that, that's fine. But I'm going to emphasize 2 things that he said. Elon Musk is a flat earther. I see no evidence of that whatsoever. The second thing that he said, which I find no evidence whatsoever, Elon Musk is spreading propaganda. Now, if he wants to provide evidence that Elon Musk is a flat earther, I'm all ears. If he wants to provide evidence that Elon Musk is spreading propaganda, I'm willing to listen to the actual propaganda that he claims he's spreading. Thank you.
Yeah, and I was just bringing attention to what he said about Shunyata, which is translated into English as emptiness. And that's what I was complimenting on. I would think that rhetoric would have been a better emphasis. Like there's this Nobel Prize winning economist, Robert Shiller. He wrote a book called Narrative Economics, and people use rhetoric and narrative in order to set a story to support their economic purposes and to make money. And this is what Elon is doing. So you can fact check that all you want, but I would pay attention to Robert Schiller's work in narrative economics. He won a Pulitzer Prize. He won a Nobel Prize for economics for a reason.
And I would pay attention to what people say in this room because they haven't won a Nobel Peace Prize.
No, I've paid attention to what he said, and I actually commented on both parts of it. So yeah, and isn't it interesting we were talking about attention with large language models? And isn't it interesting how natural language processing works and what people actually choose to pay attention to while they're listening to another person speak?
Yes, exactly. I agree with you completely.
Well, let me just say this. The evidence for the narrative economics is all over Elon Musk's X space, or X account, if you do want to see the evidence. And unlike an actual trial in the real world, where actually I just got off of a conference call and a status hearing with a judge and attorney because I'm suing the federal government, this is not an actual courtroom, Steve. This is a conference call for strokers. It's called Dinner for Schmucks. Welcome to your reality. Hello? Oh, hello! Because even
and see, dude, this is what you're defending.
I actually got here in the space that I'm occupying right now. I did not have a chance to respond, but did not support what he said.
I appreciate that. I don't support what he said either.
Well, I would just quote Pro Lyrical here, who yesterday said he doesn't give an F about this app and the stupid people here because he's got a life and he's busy running it, and this app is tangential, just a little sidekick piece in his little back pocket. So, if you didn't hear what I said, I'll quickly give you a recap. Elon Musk is a propagandist. His X account, the biggest one on the platform, propagandizes lunar development. The only way to pay for lunar development is through taxation and borrowing. As an American, as a voter, and as a politician, I stand up and reject Elon Musk's vision of because he wants to. This is his logical reasoning for why he wants lunar colonies, to preserve and maintain continuity of human consciousness, and he wants us to be multiplanetary to maintain our consciousness. That's what he says. Now you tell me about the people on Skid Row that want to maintain their consciousness but have no option of survival except on the street, when we could very easily build millions of affordable housing units in this country within just a couple of years. And it's just so simple. But the problem is, it's the Haiti scam over and over and over again. California and the Democrats there, they rip off the NGOs. Nothing gets built.
I apply it equally, though. I don't know if you do. So, do you think the $1 billion for the ballroom could be better spent on the homelessness as well? Because I know you're a Trump fan. Are you able to say that as well?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I don't care about a stupid ballroom at the White House. Who gives a fuck?
Oh, I appreciate that. Because you do got to apply it kind of equally. And
but the thing about the ballroom is,
difference. And I do think there is. You can make an argument for a different kind of return on investment with the stuff that goes on with the moon. And while I do think a lot of it is posturing and posing and always has been, there's certainly very real science that takes place. So I mean, it's not all.
I agree.
And just like this app, while you're very correct, I do take it as entertainment, like I think you do. There is also very real conversation that takes place, and so it's more fun to engage in the conversation when it's stimulating. Sometimes stimulating is because of the ridiculous things that people say. That sometimes can be entertaining. But if we had our druthers, we'd probably all rather be in rooms that are both entertaining, stimulating, and bring up ideas that we've never got to think about, as opposed to just people screaming and hollering or whatever. But that's especially when it's you're reminded of how waste of time Clubhouse can be for anything other than a radio station that you choose to interact on when you like what's on the station, you know?
And speaking of the ridiculous things that people say, you still haven't addressed the two things that I repeated that you said. Number one, Elon Musk is a flat earther, and number two, Elon Musk is spreading rhetoric.
Yeah.
So if you choose to retract those two
No,
statements,
you don't understand.
then we're all good.
I'm not saying
If
he's
you-
a. I'm not saying he's a.
If you choose not to retract those two statements, then I'm going to continue to call you on your bullshit.
Okay, let me retract the flat earther, because he's not a flat earther in the sense that we know them here on Clownhouse and on other platforms. I mean that flat earthers don't understand what they're even talking about, what they're trying to express, but have they have a linguistic language incapability. Is they're trying to talk about philosophy. They believe that economic and equity and it should be flat, meaning that we should have real equality. But they are actually, that's why I'm saying Elon is deranged in the same way. Not that he's an actual flat earther, so let me retract that. And when I say rhetoric, I just mean propaganda. Elon Musk is the spreader of some of the most anti-American propaganda out there, which is to continue taxing and borrowing from us to support his utopian dream fantasy of maintaining human consciousness on lunar colonies. It is the epitome of anti-American stupidity. And he is an elite liberal intellectual like many of you in this room who don't know how to defend your home, don't know how to defend a perimeter, don't know how to have a moral. I know some of you agree with me that I think the biggest problem is our immoral currency. Yeah, immoral currency. You know it, I know it. 40 trillion in debt, $7 trillion a year in budget. It's outrageous. I land. Thank you, John.
Yeah, so you've got a lot of outrage at Elon for things like that. You have an outrage for spending taxpayer money on the moon, on a lot of things like that. And and when asked about the ballroom, you don't care about that. You don't care about that. I think you let him off the hook a little bit when you tried to pin him down on whether there's any consistency in this schmuck's worldview. He's a Trumpy, for God's sake. He's sitting here decrying Elon Musk wasting taxpayer money. Does he care about slush funds created from settlements? With $10 billion lawsuits against
Yeah, but John, the difference is it's rare when you get. I'm not expecting overnight success asking someone who's a blatant Trump fan to disown everything Trump says, but it's a step when you can honestly say that the ballroom is a waste of money, and that's at least something.
He didn't say that. He said he didn't care about it.
Well, that's what he meant.
Say it's a waste of money. He said he didn't care about it.
What he also said, which I'm going to comment now, is that he had a hearing today or yesterday where he's suing the federal government. I would love for him to post in the group chat his application that he's suing the federal government.
No problem,
Frankly,
Steve.
I'll go out on a limb. I don't believe that for a second.
Oh, you don't believe it?
I know that lawsuits have been
All right,
filed
if you say
against
so,
him
Steve.
for election fraud, but
Nope.
I seriously
Incorrect.
doubt
Incorrect.
he's
Not
filed
true.
an independent
Not
lawsuit
true.
against
That was
the
a
federal
blurb
government,
on a
and
news
I would love
website.
to see
Not true. Fake news. That
I
was
have
fake news on a blurb on a website.
I have no ire for somebody who's going to say that that is a Trump fan who says that who I think it maybe you're right, John, but I think the implication there is a little bit of a concession that is at least a bullshit project, and that can also clearly see that there's a hell of a lot of propaganda that comes out of Elon Musk's mouth. I've never had a problem with somebody who's going to say that either. In fact, I'm a little surprised that you even went down that pathway. So I see that as a small progress. Anybody who's reframing Twitter as a, what does he call it? Absolute free speech platform. I mean, come on, give me a break. It clearly
There's
is
still a
propaganda.
hypocrisy, the overwhelming hypocrisy of being
I
able
consider
to
the
see
source, John.
Elon Musk.
I consider the source. I do not
Unbelievable.
I do not
This
draw.
guy.
Yeah, but I don't draw major ire from. I expect him to come in and say something 10 times as bombastic as that, and that's actually. Look, if I came in the room and I said, you know, there's a lot of bullshit waste that's going on, and you know, Elon Musk is behind a lot of it, and you know, I can even say that the ballroom is a bunch of waste, and I'm a Trump fan, and oh, by the way, you know, here's a few examples of Trump spreading propaganda. I'm not losing my shit over that when there's a lot more things.
Bro, if the
So,
ballroom's only $1 billion and we're experiencing at least $365 billion a year in fraud, and that's only 10% of the 4.2 trillion in Medicare, Medicaid, 10% would be 400 billion. So what is 1 billion when we lose $1 billion a day to fraud? That's what I'm saying. $1 billion ballroom, to me, the money could be spent on tiny homes, affordable housing. I think that if Trump wanted to be magnanimous, he would actually build Trump cities for the low and disadvantaged that need housing. Housing is the biggest burden on anyone's lives. The expense, the cost. You have to keep working nonstop just to keep a roof over your head. It's insanity. It's the biggest expense in anybody's pocketbook. But Steve, I am suing the federal government, and I'm suing the IRS for sexual harassment and for workplace violence.
When are you going to post your lawsuit that you filed in the group chat?
In the group chat, this cell phone is a burner phone. First of all, Steve, I'd have to go to my actual office desktop to pull up the EEOC complaint. And why I would waste my time proving to you about a personal business matter, Steve, get a life, man.
I would say stop lying and start telling the truth.
Get a life, my man.
I would never publish my personal documents for law claims personally, but then again, I don't know if I'd be talking that I'd be making them either. There's that point, but.
Well, I love you to death. I respect you more than pretty much anybody about Clubhouse. But once you file a lawsuit, it's a public document. You know that, Pro.
No, I'm just saying that the ability to like, there's a lot of public things. Like yesterday, I discussed how I don't usually go by my first or last name on Clubhouse, but I also understand that there's 500 pages on me on Google, and I have a Wikipedia page that states my name, but there's a difference on the marketing side of it, what you want people to say and think,
right?
As opposed, there's that. So the voluntary, I'm going to post a public document about myself might be more than some people want to do.
Right. However, please always remember and never forget that it was Kitover himself that came onto Clubhouse and solicited donations for his campaign. So he was running for office. He solicited donations on Clubhouse. That makes him a public figure and subjects him to certain things that people like you or me, and I've got thousands of documentations on the internet like you. It puts him in public office. He came on to Clubhouse. He got a couple of $1,000 of donations, as far as I know.
Steve, I got $600. $600, Steve. $600. If you get over 5,000, you have to file with the Federal Election Commission and file your accounting.
My understanding is that you got a couple of thousand.
I got $600.
And then of your 12 or 1,500 signatures, they were only able to verify a couple of hundred legit, which is why an investigation was opened up against you for election fraud.
There was no investigation opened for election fraud.
Am I right or wrong?
Steve, there was no investigation. Hello? Are you going to let me speak after these ludicrous accusations? Steve, I ran a clean campaign. I didn't forge any signatures. I raised $600 to run for Congress, and I caused a panic for Darren LaHood in the 16th District, a well-known and powerful Republican congressman. And I am a public figure, just like you, Steve Appel. I paid my workers, my campaign workers. I paid my workers. That's what workers do. They get paid. It's called a job. It's called a circulator. You know what a circulator is, Steve? You can't pay. You got to pay them per hour. It's called division. Maybe you haven't done it in a while. I know your vision is going bad, so you probably don't look at a calculator.
I've never run
But thank God we got a map. Yeah, I know, Steve. It takes courage to do it. That's what I have. I'm a public figure, Steve. That's why you've never done it. But you host some bullshit sheriff. Okay, he ran away. Had to go on a conference call to file another Social Security disability claim. Ha 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 ha.
Normally, most times people would just bounce off the app and they come right back in 30 seconds or so. But maybe Steve is tired of talking. The same grace I extend Steve by thinking that is the same grace I'd extend you by not coming out and say that I have to declare that all people are frauds and scammers. I've heard all the stuff people say, the stuff you and other people on the app or whatever, but it's like you quoting me yesterday, a little bit out of context, but kind of the right idea. It's like at the end of the day, I really don't care. Like it's not my business. It's not my business to point the finger and tail wag on somebody who's not trying to immediately interfere with my own doing. So I usually kind of stay out of it, but I just kind of try to judge what people are saying and what they're not saying. But I think people carry a lot of baggage from conversation to conversation. I generally don't even remember conversation to conversation that I have with people. I try to always be like that, and then just start the next conversation. Now, do I remember a little of it? Sure. Do you get the context? Yeah. But people come on doing flamethrowers all the time, and people just because they had a bad experience with them or whatever right out the gate. It's like, bro, that's what makes the app sometimes ridiculous.
Well, this is where I think people are unaware that they are their own worst enemies. And, what's interesting about AI and super intelligence is a corporation is indeed like its own super intelligent city or corporation. And this app is a corporation, and people plug into the corporation to have all this communication, to generate data, to generate revenue. But it's still a corporation. So in a way, this is like the corporation of the future where nobody gets paid to come to work. So, we are...
So we are volunteers, so to say.
Yeah, we're volunteers, but you could look at it as like employees and not volunteers. Because technically people come here with the attitude of an employee. And as you just witnessed, Steve, who works in the legal profession, for him, his kick is to come here and get to play the judge or an attorney. Because he's not an attorney. He's a paralegal.
Unpaid, though. Unpaid.
Unpaid. But it's work. Because it's just your time. Where you spend your time is your work. The creation and the creative value you bring. So, in many ways, Clubhouse is like the empty space. Space is like a corporation as well. And the thing to me, which is so amazing, is if you study astrology and tarot and occult sciences or occult philosophy, especially with the zodiac and the planets, most people, I'm actually looking at the moon now in my backyard with a telescope. And when you spend time looking at a moon, and then you start thinking about the concepts attached to the moon, it's interesting. And not a lot of people, your average everyday person, doesn't have the time or the desire to maybe explore that content, which is just there. But it's just crazy that people will spend their whole lives and never contemplate what the fuck Saturn means, or what Jupiter means, or Mars, or Mercury, or Venus. I mean, do you like astrology, Miss?
Look at it, right?
Do you like astrology, Miss Nancy?
Oh yeah, I do.
Because to me, those are.
Telescope and I have to look, but it's not good yet.
I don't necessarily mean like physical astronomy. I'm talking about the subjective, not the objective. And so I was going to try to bridge. I was going to try to bridge with Steve and say, listen, Steve, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I do side with you with regards to science and objectivity. because to poo-poo SpaceX and what they do is ridiculous. Because honestly, it's fucking impressive and it's amazing. But building a tiny home for somebody on Figueroa Street, in in downtown Los Angeles, like that's also amazing. Everything is amazing. But the thing to me is priorities. Lunar terraforming is not the priority of America. And it never should be and never will be. But that's what Elon Musk says it should be. And that narrative farming, that content farming, it actually flows to federal dollars, tens of billions of dollars that Elon wants to get. Because the truth is, almost all profit is derived and created at the federal level. At $7 trillion a year, there's not a major corporation that does not receive tens of billions of dollars. And the big beautiful bill, the top corporation is Apple. They're getting a $70 billion a year tax credit. $70 billion. They don't need it. But what it is that means they don't have to pay taxes. They do not have to pay taxes. But at the individual level, when you file your federal income tax, you're paying a lot in taxes individually. Why is the individual supporting the government, but the biggest corporations aren't? What? Is it all the lobbying? It's got to be. So, anyways, I'm just saying that we need serious corporate tax reform in this country. We cannot continue supporting the government on the backs of the workers. The liability has to transfer back to the mega corporations, the Fortune 500. If you don't think that is not one of the biggest problems, and you've never talked about it, or you don't talk with people that do talk about it, I mean, to me, the issue is always tax reform. It's not ideological propaganda and polarized ideology. It is tax reform. That's the mega issue in my opinion. It's the issue. It's always ever present.
But what are you? Are you the one who has so many accounts on this app? Is that you?
Yeah, it's me.
Oh wow. But that's also work, and average, you do more work than we do. We have maybe 1, 2 houses, that's it. But you actually working on it that you get people there. Yeah? And you have a lot of friends.
It's not heavy lifting, it's pushing a button.
I don't know, that looks to me.
Well, have you ever worked in a restaurant for 10 hours? I mean, I'm not coming home broken.
I'm just curious because, why they after you? And I heard a little bit of what Steve said, but I didn't understand what was going on.
I ran for Congress, and I solicited money here, and people were promoting me here, and I raised a meager $600. $600. And I think my total campaign spent probably like 2,000. No, way more than that, like 4,000 or 5,000. And I had to generate signatures, and I'm accused by my opponent. Now, note, it's not the election commission. It is my opponent, who I have accused of fraud. He accused me of fraud, but I accused him of fraud 1,000 times. So I'm not that upset that I'm accused of fraud, because I've accused him of fraud 1,000 times publicly. COVID-19 is the biggest fraud ever created in terms of legislation and HRX to create trillions of dollars in debt. So, I didn't forge any signatures. I paid employees to go out there and get me signatures in Rockford, which is in the precinct. And I think some of the people involved in the network of people, of the girl that I hired off of Craigslist, I think her boyfriend, they must have gone to a restaurant and bullshitted some of the petitions. Now, I have no way of knowing that. And they didn't do a full audit of my petitions. And the woman who worked for me is less than reliable. Let's put it that way. She was hard to communicate with. She disappeared on me. I had to hire an Uber to go to Rockford to bring the petitions to Chicago. She was extremely difficult to work with, and I was being shaken down. Okay? So.
Did you not fire her then? She worked for you?
Well, it's just a temp position. It's not some type of, business. So anyways, I'm just saying people on this app like to rag on me, But I have the experience now of running for Congress. That experience is invaluable. Not many people in their lives will ever experience
running
that.
for Congress for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Start
okay,
to finish.
Yeah, I never met somebody running for Congress sitting here in the app.
Yeah, I ran it start to finish. That was my second campaign. My first campaign was to run for committee person, which is a know-nothing, unpaid position within the party. And that was my first experience with lawsuits. There's a quasi-election court that every candidate goes through with regards to petitions and challenges to your signatures. And now I'm running for mayor of Chicago. The interesting thing about
You wanted to be a mayor from Chicago?
yeah, I'm a
Are you
resident.
serious?
I'm a resident of Chicago, and I'm running for mayor in Chicago. And the most interesting thing that I have discovered.
When you are accused of fraud, can you then become a mayor?
Of course.
Like Trump.
Well, you gotta understand, fraud on the internet is just online rhetoric, banter, and defamation and slander. It's to defame an individual. And again, as I just said earlier, I defamed and slandered my opponent 10,000 times by calling him a fraud. Because we have an unbalanced budget, and you're siphoning $2 trillion off the top, which is just a skim. You are engaged in immoral, unethical, less than virtuous financial management of our system. It's my opinion. We could take out $2 trillion from our annual budget right now and call it a day. But we won't do it because that money is the cheddar. That's the cream on top of the milk. And what are you going to do? You're going to stop? You're going to stop the VIG? That's what it's come down to. We have a $40 trillion mortgage. We got a $2 trillion skim, and we have a $1.2 trillion annual interest payment. So the whole thing is now completely set up against the average American to completely impugn a system of debt slavery against you your entire lifetime. If you're 20, you can't escape this. So as a liberation mayor or a libertarian, or a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter what party I am in, you have to advocate for tax reform and ultimately debt resolution. Because it's unfair to ask a 21-year-old today to work for 50 years to service the debt. Like, we need a debt jubilee or some kind of consolidation. It's within our power to do these things because we can shape the narrative based off of our words. And it will bankrupt the entire system, and banks will become insolvent, but they will recapitalize, and new technology will have to take its place. We need the entire legal industrial complex to also, we need to see, this is the problem with Elon. We don't need to terraform the moon. We need to terraform industries and categories of business in our society. And we can't expect a 21-year-old with $120,000 in college student loans and $450,000 in federal debt liabilities to accept a $1 million debt that they have to work to repay, and it's only growing.
That's sad.
Norway doesn't have this problem. Saudi Arabia doesn't have this problem. Many countries do not have this problem. Their citizens have a surplus.
Lower the prices for the ones who really want to study, really go to school.
I'm just advocating.
Make it lower the prices. I would say there are students. They're not like rich and have a job.
I'm just advocating for legal debt resolution, and not civil war and not violence ever, because we can settle this on the ledger with a pen. It was created with a pen. We can solve it with a pen. There's no need for violence. However, if you study the French Revolution, which is really like its own microcosm of violence and political polarization, but also intellectual and knowledge, intelligence, reformation about how to run society. We have an incredible opportunity in America to literally do as we please. And it's because the world has bought into America. America is like still the new world to China, to India, to Europe. We are this third-party agent which has the continuity of consciousness, which is what Elon wants to deposit on the lunar surface, which is stupidity. Because we've already got it here. We've got to play our game here in America now and not waste our fucking money on terraforming the moon. Let's not be the what Elon Musk and his bronies, aka Adrian Dittman and his group of cool guys do, because they're not cool. Elon has issues. Elon Musk goes by the name Adrian Dittman, and you can listen to him every Friday, Saturday, goon out and play video games and cook a butter steak. It's not the leader that I would prefer in America. He's a German. He thinks like a German. In many ways, he is a supremacist. But, you know, not the horrible type, because I have heard him actually attack low IQ racists on X who are extremely low IQ and brain rotted out. And they are incredibly toxic people that have huge followings that spread hate and discontent and friction and lies and propaganda of the worst kind, which is racial propaganda, which is defamation propaganda. And it's rampant. Oh, my friend is here. Anyways, this is the empty space. Hello?
Not an empty room, but who's your friend?
I agree with you. North America puts very little emphasis on public harmonious relations between people. We just don't have that culture. We're individualists.
See, we are individualists because we think we are, but there is a collective unconsciousness within the collective. You know, there is a collective unconsciousness. You can't escape that. And that's what you can manipulate at scale, and that's what's happening.
No, exactly right. That's actually very insightful. There is no way to get away from the collective unconscious that is pop culture. This idea that people in North America are individualists it's a lie.
He just went from going we are all individualists to none of us are individualists. Do you see how quick you can flip it?
This is put on this and very little effort by the government to bring people together. So it's problematic. It's a very young and immature and selfish culture at this point in our development.
Well, you know, I play music. I consider myself a musician, a politician, and a magician, amongst other things. But to me, being a musician is really the most fun because I think that there is a challenge that everyone individually has to face, which is how do I maintain intelligence, knowledge, and equilibrium to engage in some type of profitable trade. Because that little book I have, The Virtue of Selfishness, is all about altruism versus egoism. And you need a healthy balance. The healthy balance is really what you could call the middle pillar of strength. You know,
Can you split the difference between altruism and what was it? The two that you mentioned, altruism and.
This is why I read books, my friend.
Egoism. What's the difference? Like, can you kind of define and split?
Yeah. Altruism is sacrificing self for others, which is truly wealth redistribution. And that's what our country, we are a socialist, communist, state-run, controlled economy. And egoism is essentially, I think, just a concept, because there is no such thing as an ego. But in relation to the comparison, egoism is not necessarily self-centered narcissism. I think it's just protectivism, security. It's the intelligence of how do I optimize, survive, and in that process, help other people become productive and creative and intelligent. Why do you think people go to school? And so I'm just saying that we have a unique opportunity, I think, even with Clubhouse, to actually cut the budget for public education and force people to actually document their knowledge and document their education, which is you go on YouTube and you read a book. You have now confirmed to me that you've read this book from start to finish because you filmed yourself. Prove it! Don't tell me, show me. Show me!
I do want to
I have a question. Oh.
Sorry. Well, one thing I want to push back against is,
Bull rush.
you know, when we talk about altruism or equality, these sorts of things within North America, very often we're referring to you know, money, things like money, but I don't see that as our largest problem. You know, people lacking money is not a problem in itself. Not exactly. I mean, it is problematic. I think the greatest difficulty that we have is crafting a high trust society. You know, if you're poor, but if you have health care, if you're poor but you feel like there is a very good chance of, you know, raising yourself up. If there's not much tension between different groups of people within a society, this is what we kind of want to work towards. But the news and the media is really, we're all about outrage culture, and I think this really holds us back from developing further here in North America. You'd mentioned China. China's kind of just laughing at us, bro. Like, I know it's not a perfect place, but they understand the importance of at least the government trying to make a really good run at crafting a high trust society, right? We just don't have that. Yeah.
High control, like authoritative dictators. So like, I think just
it's not all bad, dude.
Well, I think just recently we removed what 200 and some high ranges of concern that they could eventually or they didn't necessarily.
Yeah, I'm talking about something different though.
They weren't compliant. So trust isn't compliance, and in China it's compliance.
No, it's not.
Dictatorship with mass surveillance.
No. I'm talking about something, dude. I understand what you're talking about. I understand, but I'm talking about something completely different.
Maybe you should
I know, dude. I know you're Buddhist. Yes.
The behavioral behaviors of the populace are controlled by the top down. Yes, they are.
Okay, so, dude, I'm talking about something very different. What I'm talking about is a tradition in China, Japan, and Korea. These cultures I'm very well familiar with, and it goes back to, like, you know, 3,500 years, even before Confucius. Right. And so what I'm talking about is, like, if you go into a Chinese village any place, the people who are of zero relation to the old lady, let's say the oldest lady that lives in the village, they always come and they knock on their door early in the morning on the way to elementary school. They knock on our door, even, like I was saying, there's no relation. They say, you know, hey, Grandma, how are you doing? Is everybody okay? Right? And in a lot of these old villages, the houses are built in circles. They're like circular apartments. And everybody watches over each other. There's a very, very strong sense of community. And the Chinese developed this, right? And the reason they developed it, as you probably know, dude, is that they have very dense population structure. The population density is very, very tight. And it creates this sense of community. What we have, and I feel that we want this in North America on a subconscious level.
No.
Okay? It's nothing to do. I know there's a lot of corruption in the Chinese government. I would never argue against
No, I'm
that.
not
I know
talking
that there's
about
control
corruption. I'm talking about watching. You mentioned watching. Everyone's watching everybody, and there's a control.
No, it's not like that. It's a different thing. It's a concern. There's a difference between control.
My Tibetan friends have a much different lived experience than what you're
Sure. I'm not. It's not different because in Tibet.
Or anyone protesting in Hong Kong. They have a much different lived experience.
No, but the people in Hong Kong. Look. My family's lived in Hong Kong for 40 years, bro. I'll give you an example from Hong Kong.
I'm talking about during the protest.
I'm talking about something completely different, dude.
No, I understand.
I'm talking about from the ground up.
you're ignoring reality with your little.
I'm not ignoring. I'm not ignoring what you're saying, dude. I know these problems exist. I'm not talking about government control. I'm talking about a ground up thing. So you mentioned Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, they have these massive buildings where like 3,000 people live. They're called danchi, right? And these danchi, on the first floor, you have very cheap. When the businessmen, when they get ready to go off to work, you can go down to the first floor, and everybody there in the morning has like a coffee, Hong Kong coffee, buns, and it's quite cheap, and everybody kind of, it's not socialism, but it is a very strong communal feeling, right? You say, I live in this apartment, and everybody kind of knows one another. What my whole point is that I'm getting to is that you had mentioned government control in China trying to oppress people, and I completely agree with that. I agree with that. But what we have here in North America is, I feel on a subconscious level, people want this communal feeling because it's natural for all human beings to want this sort of high trust society. Is we have a news
go together. There are two ways of thinking about the same thing, or shall we say two dimensions of the same thing, just like length and breadth. Or just, shall we say, like shape and color. You see, nobody ever saw a shape that wasn't colored. Nobody ever saw a